Hi, everyone. This is Pivot from New York Magazine and the Vox Media Podcast Network. I'm Kara Swisher.
And tell me you're abusing ketamine without telling me you're abusing ketamine, Kara.
I am only bereft that Jonathan had to be there to witness that. Jonathan Ross Sorkin. Did you see that part? Our friend, our Canadian, he called our Canadian friend Jonathan, and Andrew was like, I'm Andrew.
Oh my God, I did see that.
He said, you're my good friend, Jonathan. And I was thinking, why did he think Jonathan? Is it the only sort of Jewish-sounding name he could think of? I don't even know what he was doing there.
Well, if that whole dialogue cemented or proved anything, it is that, in fact, Andrew Ross Sorkin is Canadian. One, he was on stage the entire time unarmed. We're
going to talk about it more in a minute, but go ahead.
He was on stage the entire time, both unarmed and had health insurance. Canadian.
Yeah.
And you know how you get a Canadian to apologize?
How?
You step on his foot. And that has some relevance here.
Yeah, which we'll get to.
Andrew felt bad. It was like the way Andrew felt, I don't know if he felt bad for the audience.
He didn't know what to say. We're going to go right to our first story, as we were talking about. Elon Musk gave quite a performance at the New York Times DealBook Summit on Wednesday, which was chock full of really good interviews. In a lengthy conversation with Jonathan Ross Sorkin, also known as Andrew, Elon addressed numerous topics, ranging from his anti-Semitic comments to his grudge against Biden, and weighed in on OpenAI, aliens, monkeys, and more. And something about Earth. I don't quite understand what that was about. And when he apologized for that anti-Semitic tweet, it was a comment directed at X's advertisers that caused the most chaos. Let's listen.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself. But go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
When pressed on what it would mean for his company, this is what he said. Tell it to Earth. You have to watch this in whole because the entire thing is bizarre, not just this. His diatribe against not being invited to a Biden confab. Everything was so strange. Tell it to Earth. What did you think as you watched this? The shout out was to Bob Iger, by the way, who was in the audience, who earlier in the day when asked about Elon and advertising on X, said that the association was not necessarily a positive one. Let me have some other highlights, if we want to call them that. Elon's issues with Biden go back to Tesla getting excluded from this White House event on electric vehicles. Shortly after Biden took office, he said it wasn't fair. He's obviously hurting from it. He said, I have done more for the environment than any other person on earth when talking about electric vehicle sales. Nikki Haley was dismissed as pro-censorship candidate. More on her later. OpenAI should be renamed super closed source for maximum profit AI. Ha. Scott, please go ahead.
I was on a plane watching it last night. I came home from Miami, and I found it difficult to watch. I think the most generous thing you could say is it was an intense bout of jet lag, but there's something going on here. And I, of course, went to ChatGPT and I typed in, what are the symptoms of a narcissist having a breakdown? And it came back with intense rage and anger, blame shifting, emotional dysregulation, paranoia, depression and anxiety, manipulative behaviors, isolation, self-destructive behaviors, increased sensitivity to criticism, and breakdown of relationships. I mean, his statements were so ridiculous, Kara. Do you realize that 497 of the Fortune 500 companies in the United States are clearly blackmailing us because they refuse to advertise on our platform?
Yeah, I know.
And then to go after Disney, and it's like, the whole thing was just, and to be that profane and that aggressive, and then to somehow threaten advertisers that the world will hold you accountable if Twitter goes down. And then talking about, I thought the most disturbing part is someone who raises boys, him talking about, as a 13-year-old, just the incredible hardship and dysfunction he faced. His answer or his response to this incredible abuse, being the son of a model and a emerald miner, was the decision to save humanity by making us an interplanetary species. I mean, he's just like kind of fucking lost his shit.
Again, his stands literally were like, this was great. He told it like it was. And then, let me just say, Linda Yaccarino. Well, it's really sad. It's sad. It's sad. I don't feel sorry for him, but it's sad to watch. He thinks he's great. His clothes were strange. Like he was dressed as a fighter pilot from the World War II, I guess.
Yeah, I did notice that.
I don't really know. Which is fine. He can wear whatever he wants, but it just the whole visual was weird. He looked exhausted. He looked unshaven. I thought Linda Yaccarino did the worst job of any CEO in recent memory, but he has managed to top it. He bested her. Two things. Linda Yaccarino was in the audience. I thought she must have been horrified, but instead she put up a lengthy post on X afterwards. I'm not going to read it in full because it was so full of nonsense and enabling. When it comes to advertising, X is standing at a unique and amazing intersection of free speech and Main Street. Block that fucking metaphor, but okay. I think she just got run over by a truck, essentially driven by Elon Musk. One was, how do you think she's feeling today at that intersection? She is really a piece of work, I gotta say, because she seems nuts, but she is obviously something else.
My understanding of Linda is that she was outstanding at her job. She was a fantastic head of sales.
Well, I'll get to that.
And so you put someone as a head of sales for a traditional company with a lot of products, a lot of outstanding assets to sell, and then you show up and you're fighting a fire with a squirt gun, and then you find out that the person who you're fighting for keeps putting gasoline in your squirt gun.
She doesn't have to go this far. She can leave. She cannot put out quotes like this. This was shocking to me.
I can't decide whether she's part of the problem. There's been very few people who have gone from zero to global awareness, and then in almost as fast a period, have absolutely destroyed their reputation. Now, you could argue in this day and age, it's just all about awareness, and I think she'll be able to get another job. But she looks totally flaccid in the face of a owner who doesn't respect anything about her role as CEO. She's not a CEO, and again, the analogy is she's the circus clown following this elephant around, scooping up his shit all the time.
Yeah. It's really, she was also the subject of a not very flattering profile in The Hollywood Reporter by Kim Masters Wednesday, where the writer, Kim Masters, spoke with unnamed former NBC colleagues. The article quotes someone who said Linda let her ego get the best of her. She thought she could control him. It was a level of ego and hubris you rarely see. I thought it was a pretty fair article. Others thought it was, it was all unnamed sources, but it was accurate. I know her. She was tough. She's a tough and somewhat of a chaotic manager. Not that I care. Lots of bad people don't manage as well. But she definitely is way over her skis, but then continues to double down. That's the tragedy here, is this sort of like full-scale embracing of this lunatic behavior by Elon. Why would any advertiser stay with X at this point? He's done this before. Remember when he first got to the company, he insulted advertisers at that first advertising meeting? Don't advertise with us. Then he just hates anyone in control of his destiny, I guess, or something.
The answer is no big advertiser is going to, or no advertisers that is worried about their reputation. I mean, I found his comments, everyone wants to try and peer into his heart to really understand if he's an anti-Semite. And my view is if you say and do anti-Semitic things, then boom, you're an anti-Semite. And so big companies that are correctly more sensitive to this sort of scrutiny and criticism as they should be are going to stay away from this thing. Because here's the thing. There are about 1 billion other options to spend your money in there's no shortage. There are fewer ad dollars than there are platforms to spend those dollars on.
And Twitter's not particularly effective, as many people are pointing out. Like, why take the risk?
It's never been known as being a great product in terms of ROI. The people or the firms that will continue to advertise, well, because the outflow of advertising will be so dramatic, logically speaking, the ROI on the ad dollars that remain should go up because there'll be fewer of them. So if you're trying to sell an ear cleaning product, I wouldn't be surprised, and I hate to say this, I wouldn't be surprised if the ROI on your ad dollars on Twitter that are going to be competing with much fewer dollars for eyeballs will actually go up. So they'll probably see a bit of a bump the smaller advertisers in terms of ROI, because there'll just be so few dollars chasing what is still a fairly large audience.
The ads have gotten really scary. They've gotten really weird. Ear cleaning product is one of them. And that weird glue. Now, you haven't been on it, but there's a weird hand glue. I don't really know what it is. How is this going to end? What is Earth going to do? Because from a business point of view, X was, last week, the New York Times reported that X was in danger of losing $75 million earlier this week in advertising before the interview. You're in a room with marketers right now who are still on the platform. What is being said?
Here's my boast and narcissism. I've worked with 27 of the 100 CMOs of the Fortune 100 globally. None of them would have anything to do with this platform right now. None of them. It's all, let me get this. The product's not that great. You might be accused of enabling an anti-Semite. Oh, and if you decide to stop advertising, he's going to say you're blackmailing him and start threatening revenge against you. I mean, okay, what is the upside here? Let's look at the upside versus the down. There are a few things the CMO can be fired for, kind of unceremoniously. If you were to go on Twitter and spend some money, and then it were to blow up in your face, say your Pepsi, your Diet Pepsi ad ends up next to a swastika, and then a really decent question would be like, you saw this shit happening and you made the conscious decision to put us at risk like this? So nobody you or me knows is going to be advertising on this platform.
Yeah, it's it is a traffic accident. Speaking of, for the corner of free speech in Maine. I don't know. It was so bizarre. I was in New York. I didn't go.
You used to be friends with him. Do you know anyone that knows him?
I wasn't friends. He was so funny. He was referring to Andrew as a friend, Jonathan as a friend. Jonathan's not his friend either. He thinks anyone who's nice to him is his friend. It's really sad, actually. Andrew and I are just reporters. I liked him. I certainly thought he was interesting. No, I don't. Everyone just shakes their head. Everyone just shakes their head.
But I do think on a meta level, I do think the world is having a healthy immune response to Elon Musk.
Yeah, the audience certainly did. You could hear it. They were like, huh, 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 huh.
But we don't have a president of the world. We don't have one company that controls the world. We have several that are marching towards that. But generally speaking, over time, the ecosystem doesn't like an invasive species, and it starts to fight back against it.
Yeah.
And when one person aggregates this much power, I think the world does have a healthy...
Earth. It's called
Yeah,
Earth.
it does have a healthy immune gag reflex. And I feel like we're starting to really choke on this guy.